It was always the same. Same hallway, same shift. But that night, something was different. It was just on the floor. I didn't think anyone would mind. She was holding the notebook with both hands. Her name was Hajin Harris, a part-time night cleaner working to pay her way through college. The hallway on the 49th floor was quiet. Too quiet. That was when she heard it. Footsteps. Sharp, slow, deliberate. A man stepped into the light. Impeccably dressed. Face unreadable. "How did you get in here?" His voice was cold and level. No hint of emotion. Hajin froze. That voice. That face. She knew exactly who he was. Jaden Blue. CEO of Blue Group. One of the richest men in the country. "Who gave you that?" His eyes were on the notebook in her hands. "And no one. I found it on the floor and thought maybe someone dropped it." He said nothing, just took a step closer. "What's your name?" "Hajin. Hajin Harris." He repeated the name slowly. "Hajin." Then silence. Even the air seemed to still. She didn't know it then, but that single name would bind her to this man in a way no one could have predicted. And this hallway would become the beginning of a story neither of them was ready for. Hajin still held the notebook in her hands, unsure what to do. Sweat trickled down her back. Her heart beat faster. "Why were you holding that?" Jaden Blue's tone was neutral, but his eyes, they were reading every detail. "I just thought someone left it behind." He walked toward her. Slowly, methodically. Each step echoed in the empty corridor like a gavel. "That notebook has my signature." He stared at her. "And your name is Hajin." She took a step back. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I'll leave right now." He didn't stop her. Just watched. Then finally he asked, "Are you a student?" She looked up, confused. "Yes. I go to college. I work nights to cover tuition." He gave a short nod, as if pieces were falling into place. "So that's why you're here at this hour." He wasn't judging, just observing. Then came the unexpected. "Come to my office. 10 minutes. That's all." "What?" He had already turned and was walking away. She stood there, paralyzed. Then, without realizing, her feet began to move. That night, Hajin had no idea. Those 10 minutes would change her life forever. The private office on the 49th floor was unlike anything Hajin had seen. High ceilings. Polished wood. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan. Jaden sat on the leather couch, motioning for her to take a seat. "Sit. Don't be nervous." She obeyed, placing her hands neatly on her lap. After a pause, he pulled out a photograph. "Do you recognize this woman?" The photo was old, slightly worn. The woman in it was smiling gently. "No, I don't." He looked at it for a moment longer, then said, "You wouldn't. She passed away before you were born." A beat. "And she was the only woman I ever truly loved. When I saw your face, I thought she'd come back." His voice cracked slightly, a rare break in composure. Hajin didn't know what to say. The weight of his words sat heavy between them. "I'm not saying you're her," he added quietly. "But you remind me of what I lost." The silence stretched. "Your name is Hajin," he continued. "Would you stay by my side, just for a while?" It wasn't a question. It was the start of something far more complicated. Jaden Blue stood by the window, looking out at the city. The room was quiet. Only the hum of electricity and the tick of the clock filled the space. Finally, he spoke. "Hajin." She turned to face him. "I want to offer you something unusual." "Okay. Be my wife." Her mouth fell open. "Excuse me. I'm serious," he said flatly. "My ex-wife is threatening to destabilize my company. She's gathering influence with the board. To block her, I need to show stability. I need a new marriage. I am not the right person. I'm just... You need money. The words hit like ice. I've looked into your situation. Medical bills, tuition, rent. Here's my offer. 3-month contract. Legal marriage. $300,000. Hajin's breath caught. No feelings involved. Just business. She lowered her eyes. I need time to think. Until 10 a.m. tomorrow. If I don't hear from you, the offer disappears. She walked out of the room, the contract details ringing in her ears. Outside, the city hadn't changed. But Hajin knew her life had. Hajin sat on the edge of her bed, wide awake. 4:12 a.m. Her small apartment was silent except for the creaking heater. Scattered around her were tuition bills, medical invoices, and her mother's pill bottles. She couldn't forget his voice. Will you be my wife? The pen sat on top of the contract, waiting. Then the door creaked open. You're up. Her mother Angela walked in. Her voice casual, but her eyes sharp. That man made you an offer, didn't he? Hajin stared. How do you know? I used to be close to him. But you look more like her than I ever did. She laughed. But it was cold. This is your chance. Get in before the real ex-wife destroys him. You'll be safe if your name is on that paper. I can't. It's not love. Love? Does love pay the bills? Angela pointed to the stack of hospital notices. You want me to live, right? Those words stung. Hajin went into her room, shutting the door softly behind her. She sat at her desk. Her hand trembled as she reached for the pen. She exhaled. Slowly, deeply. Then she signed. Dawn broke as ink dried on the page. Hajin Harris would soon be known as the wife of Jaden Blue. No one knew yet what it would cost to turn this contract into something real. The courthouse steps were slippery from morning rain. Hajin's heels clicked against wet concrete as she climbed toward the entrance. No flowers. No guests. No music. Just two strangers about to sign papers. Jaden waited by the metal detector, checking his watch. His face showed nothing. When he saw her, he simply nodded. The clerk's office smelled like old paper and disinfectant. Form after form. Signature after signature. The woman behind the desk barely looked up. Congratulations, she said flatly, stamping the final document. That was it. Hajin Harris was now Hajin Blue. Outside, Jaden lit a cigarette. His first in years. The car will take you to the penthouse. Your things are already there. She stared at him. What about you? I have meetings. He dropped the cigarette and crushed it under his shoe. This starts now. Act like my wife in public. That's all. The black sedan pulled up. The driver opened the door. Hajin slid into leather seats that cost more than her yearly rent. Through the tinted window, she watched Jaden walk away. His shoulders were rigid. His pace measured. She touched the ring on her finger. Cold metal against warm skin. The penthouse elevator climbed 50 floors in silence. When the doors opened, Hajin stepped into a world she didn't recognize. White marble. Crystal chandeliers. Windows that stretched from floor to ceiling. Her suitcase sat by the entrance. Small and worn against the pristine backdrop. A note lay on the kitchen counter. Your room is the second door on the left. Mine is at the end of the hall. Don't enter without permission. J. She found her room. King-sized bed. Walk-in closet. Bathroom bigger than her old apartment. Everything was perfect. Everything was empty. That night, she heard his key in the lock at 11:47 p.m. Footsteps in the hallway. A door closing. Then silence. This was her new life. Contract wife to a man who treated her like expensive furniture. But something told her the real test hadn't even begun. The Blue Group building buzzed with whispers. Did you see her? The new Mrs. Blue? She's so young. Hajin walked through the lobby in a borrowed dress. Black. Conservative. Still wrong for this world. Employees stared. Some pretended not to. Others didn't bother hiding their curiosity. The elevator ride to the 49th floor felt endless. Each floor brought more stairs through glass walls. Jaden's assistant, Maria, greeted her with a tight smile. Mrs. Blue, your husband is in meetings all morning. He asked me to show you around. The tour was clinical. Conference rooms. Executive dining. The corner office where it all began. And this, Maria said, opening a door, will be your office. Small. No windows. A desk and 2 chairs. What exactly am I supposed to do here? Maria's smile never wavered. Whatever Mr. Blue needs. He'll let you know. By lunch, the entire building knew. Jaden Blue had married his night cleaner. The whispers followed Hajin everywhere. Elevators fell silent when she entered. Conversations stopped when she passed. She ate alone in the executive dining room. 40 tables. Only hers occupied. That afternoon, the first email arrived. Welcome to the family, sweetheart. We need to talk. J. But the sender wasn't Jaden. Hajin's blood went cold. Someone else was using his initial. Someone who wanted her to know they were watching. The elevator doors opened on the parking garage level. Hajin hadn't pressed that button. A woman stepped inside. Tall. Elegant. Dangerous smile. You must be the new wife. Her voice was silk wrapped around steel. I'm Julia. The old wife. The elevator continued its descent. Going down. Always down. Julia pressed the emergency stop button. Red light. Alarm silence. They were trapped between floors. Surprised he didn't mention me? Hajin's throat went dry. He said you were divorced. Divorced. Not gone. Julia stepped closer. Her perfume was expensive. Suffocating. You think you can just walk into his life? Into my company. It's not my company, Julia repeated. I built Blue Group with him. My money. My connections. My sacrifices. The elevator shuddered. You're just another cleaning girl who got lucky. Julia's finger hovered over the button. But luck runs out. She pressed it. The elevator lurched upward. Enjoy the penthouse, sweetheart, while you can. The doors opened on the 49th floor. Julia walked out without looking back. Hajin stood frozen until the doors closed again. Her hands were shaking. Her wedding ring felt like a target on her finger. The war had begun, and she was completely unprepared. The executive dining room fell silent. Every conversation stopped mid-sentence. 40 pairs of eyes turned toward the entrance. Julia Blue walked in like she owned the place. Because she had. For 10 years. She wore white. Tailored. Perfect. Her heels clicked against marble with military precision. Hajin sat at her usual table. Alone. Her sandwich untouched. Her appetite gone. Julia approached. Slowly. Deliberately. The room held its breath. Mind if I sit? She didn't wait for an answer. The chair scraped against the floor. Too loud in the silence. You know, Julia said, cutting into her salad with surgical precision, this used to be my table. Hajin's fingers tightened around her water glass. Jaden and I would have lunch here every Tuesday. Discuss business. Plan our future. She took a delicate bite. But I suppose he's told you all about our marriage. Some. Julia smiled. How generous of him. She leaned forward. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Did he mention the miscarriages? The nights I held him while he cried? The way he used to say my name in his sleep? Hajin's chest tightened. You're nothing but a placeholder, sweetheart. A pretty distraction while he figures out how to win me back. Julia stood, smoothed her skirt. But don't worry. I won't make you wait long. She walked away. Every eye in the room followed her exit. Hajin sat alone again. But now the silence felt different. Heavier. More dangerous. She looked down at her reflection in the water glass. Young face. Uncertain eyes. A girl playing dress-up in a woman's world. For the first time since signing that contract, she wondered if she'd made a terrible mistake. But it was too late to back out now. The game had begun. And Julia was playing to win. The contract lay open on the kitchen counter. Hajin had read it a dozen times. But tonight, she saw something different. Page 47. Subsection C. Wife agrees to public appearances as required. Private conduct subject to husband's discretion. Her finger traced the words. What exactly did private conduct mean? She flipped to page 52. Termination clause. Contract void if wife engages in behavior detrimental to husband's reputation. The pen marks were fresh. Recent additions. Someone had been editing this document. A key turned in the front door. Hajin slammed the contract shut. Jaden entered. His tie was loose. His shirt wrinkled. He looked exhausted. You're up late. She nodded toward the papers. Just reviewing our arrangement. He poured himself a scotch. Didn't offer her one. Find anything interesting? The question felt loaded. Should I have? He took a long sip. Set the glass down harder than necessary. Julia filed an injunction today. She's claiming our marriage is fraudulent. Hajin's stomach dropped. Can she do that? She can try. But she'll need proof. He looked at her directly for the first time in weeks. Which means we need to be more convincing. The word convincing hung in the air like smoke. What does that mean? It means tomorrow, you move into my room. Her breath caught. The contract says. The contract says whatever I need it to say. He finished his drink and headed toward the hallway. Pack light. We're sharing space now. His door closed with a soft click. Hajin stared at the contract. The words seemed to shift and blur. Nothing was what it seemed. And she was trapped in the middle of a game she didn't understand. The master bedroom was 3 times the size of her old apartment. King bed. Walk-in closet. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park. Hajin's suitcase looked pathetic in the corner. Jaden emerged from the bathroom. Hair damp. Wearing only pajama pants. She turned away quickly. The closet has been cleared for you. Left side. She nodded without looking at him. And Hajin. She forced herself to meet his eyes. If anyone asks, we've been sharing this room since the wedding. Who would ask? Julia's lawyers. Private investigators. Reporters. He pulled back the covers on his side of the bed. They'll be watching everything now. She stood frozen by her suitcase. Where exactly am I supposed to sleep? He guessed. Toward to the bed. We're married. Act like it. But the contract. Forget the contract. This is about survival. He turned off the lights. The room plunged into darkness. Hajin changed in the bathroom, hands shaking as she buttoned her pajamas. When she emerged, Jaden was already in bed, eyes closed, breathing steady. She slipped under the covers, stayed as far to her side as possible. The bed was enormous, but somehow she could feel his presence in every inch. Minutes passed. Hours. Neither of them slept. At 3 a.m., his voice cut through the darkness. This isn't what I wanted either. She didn't respond, but something in his tone made her chest tighten. He sounded almost human. The phone rang at 6:47 a.m. Hajin jolted awake. Jaden was already reaching for it. What? His voice was sharp, alert. She couldn't hear the other side, but she saw his face change. When? A pause. How bad? He hung up, ran his hands through his hair. What's wrong? Your mother collapsed. They're saying it's serious. Hajin's blood went cold. What happened? Heart episode. She's in the ICU. She was already out of bed, pulling on clothes. I have to go. I'll drive you. You don't have to. Yes, I do. Something in his voice stopped her protests. This wasn't the cold businessman from their contract. This was someone who understood loss. The hospital smelled like disinfectant and fear. Angela Harris lay in the ICU. Tubes and wires everywhere. But her eyes were sharp, calculating. Even unconscious, she looked like she was planning something. Hajin sat beside the bed, took her mother's hand. The doctors say she's stable, the nurse explained. But it was close. Jaden stood by the window, watching, listening. Angela's eyes fluttered open. Hajin. I'm here, Mom. Angela's gaze shifted to Jaden. A smile played at her lips. You came too. How sweet. Something about her tone made Hajin uncomfortable. You should rest, Mom. No. We need to talk. All of us. She struggled to sit up. Hajin helped her. This marriage, it's working out well, isn't it? Hajin glanced at Jaden. His face was unreadable. Mom, you just had a heart attack. Which is why we need to discuss the future. Angela's grip tightened on Hajin's hand. I've been thinking. About your contract. About what happens after. After what? Angela's smile widened. After you give him what he really wants. The words sent ice through Hajin's veins. What are you talking about? But Angela had closed her eyes again. The machines beeped steadily. The conversation was over. Jaden hadn't moved from the window. But Hajin could see tension in his shoulders. Whatever her mother was planning, he knew about it. And he wasn't going to stop it. The coffee shop across from the hospital was nearly empty. Hajin stared at her untouched latte. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She knows something. Jaden sat across from her, his own coffee growing cold. Your mother has always known things. What does that mean? He was quiet for a long moment. Angela Harris worked for my family. Years ago. Before you were born. Hajin's head snapped up. What? She was my father's secretary. Then his companion. The words hit like physical blows. You're lying. I wish I was. Jaden leaned forward. She knew about Sarah, my first love. She knew how much Sarah meant to me. And she made sure you looked exactly like her. The coffee shop spun around Hajin. Everything she thought she knew was crumbling. The hair, the clothes, even the way you speak. Angela trained you. No. The word came out as a whisper. You were her investment. Her way back into my family's money. Hajin stood abruptly. The chair scraped against the floor. You're wrong. But even as she said it, memories flooded back. Her mother insisting on certain hairstyles. Language lessons she didn't need. The way Angela always seemed to know exactly what men wanted. Hajin. She was already walking away. Out of the coffee shop. Into the street. Away from the truth she couldn't face. But Jaden's voice followed her. Running won't change what she did to you. She kept walking. Because if she stopped, she might fall apart completely. And she wasn't ready for that. Not yet. The Blue Group building felt different now. Every glance seemed suspicious. Every whisper felt personal. Hajin rode the elevator to the 49th floor in silence. The executive dining room was busy. Lunch rush. She found an empty table in the corner. Ordered soup she wouldn't eat. That's when Julia appeared. Not at her table. At the podium. Tapping a spoon against her water glass. The room fell silent. I'd like to make an announcement. Hajin's blood went cold. As many of you know, there have been changes in the Blue family recently. Julia's eyes found Hajin across the room. Changes that affect all of us. She smiled. Predatory and sharp. Which is why I'm hosting a small gathering tonight. To welcome our new addition. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Mrs. Hajin Blue. Would you stand? Every eye in the room turned to her. Hajin's legs felt like water. She stood slowly. There she is. Our little Cinderella. Laughter. Not kind. I'm sure you're all curious about her background. Julia's smile widened. Well, tonight you'll learn everything. She raised her glass. To new beginnings. And old secrets. The room toasted. Hajin remained standing. Frozen. She knew this was a trap. But she had no choice but to walk into it. The party was at Julia's penthouse. 40 floors above the city. 100 of New York's elite. Hajin wore the only formal dress she owned. Black. Simple. Wrong for this crowd. Jaden hadn't come home to change. She was alone. The elevator opened into a world of marble and crystal. Champagne flutes. Designer gowns. Whispered conversations that stopped when she entered. Julia appeared instantly. Red dress. Diamond necklace. Smile like a blade. Hajin. You made it. She air-kissed both cheeks. Her perfume was suffocating. Let me introduce you to everyone. The next hour was a parade of names and faces. Investment bankers. Board members. Society wives. Each introduction felt like an interrogation. So you met Jaden at work? How romantic. A modern fairy tale. You must feel so lucky. Lucky. The word followed her everywhere. By 9 p.m., Hajin needed air. She found the balcony. Empty. Quiet. The city stretched out below. Millions of lights. Millions of lives. None of them trapped like hers. Overwhelming, isn't it? Julia had followed her outside. All these people. All these questions. She joined Hajin at the railing. They're curious about you. About your story. What story? The one where a cleaning girl marries a billionaire. Julia's voice was silk over steel. But we both know that's not the real story, don't we? Hajin's grip tightened on the railing. I don't know what you mean. Of course you do. Julia moved closer. The real story is about a mother who sold her daughter. A girl who looks exactly like a dead woman. A man who can't let go of the past. The words hit like physical blows. That's not true. Oh, sweetie. RT. It's all true. Julia pulled out her phone. Showed Hajin a photograph. It was Sarah. Jaden's first love. The resemblance was unmistakable. Amazing, isn't it? The lengths a mother will go to secure her future. Hajin couldn't breathe. Angela did her research. Found the perfect mark. Trained you perfectly. Julia tucked the phone away. But here's what she didn't count on. She leaned in close. I knew Sarah too. And you're nothing like her. The balcony door opened. Voices spilled out. The party was looking for them. Shall we go back inside? Julia asked sweetly. I believe it's time for your speech. My what? Oh, didn't I mention? You're the guest of honor. Julia's smile was pure venom. Time to tell everyone your story. She walked back inside. Left Hajin alone on the balcony. The city lights blurred. Her hands shook. Her carefully constructed world was about to collapse. And there was nowhere to run. The microphone squealed with feedback. 100 faces turned toward the makeshift stage. Hajin stood frozen in the spotlight. Julia's voice cut through the silence. "Ladies and gentlemen, our guest of honor, Mrs. Hajin Blue." Polite applause. Expectant faces. Waiting. Hajin's mouth went dry. She looked toward the exit. Too far. Too many people. "Tell us," Julia continued, "about your love story." The words stuck in Hajin's throat. "How did you meet?" Someone coughed. Glasses clinked. The silence stretched. Hajin began. Her voice cracked. "We met at..." The lie wouldn't come. Not here. Not like this. Julia's smile widened. "Having trouble remembering?" Hajin's knees buckled. She gripped the microphone stand. "Perhaps I can help." Julia stepped forward. "You see, Hajin and Jaden have such a unique story." She gestured to the crowd. "How many of you believe in fairy tales?" Nervous laughter. "Because that's what this is. A modern Cinderella." Julia's eyes glittered. A poor girl. A rich man. Love at first sight. She paused for effect. "Except..." The room held its breath. Cinderella was honest about who she was. Hajin's vision blurred. The faces in the crowd swam together. Our Hajin, on the other hand. Julia pulled out a folder. "Has been living a lie." Papers scattered across the floor. Birth certificates. Employment records. Bank statements. Angela Harris. Hajin's mother. Former employee of Blue Group. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Fired for embezzlement. 15 years ago. Hajin's legs gave out. She sank to her knees on the stage. "And this?" Julia held up a photograph. "Is Sarah Mitchell, Jaden's college girlfriend. Died in a car accident 10 years ago." She held up another photo. Hajin at 18. The resemblance was unmistakable. Remarkable, isn't it? The power of good genetics. And better planning. The crowd was silent. Shocked. Hungry for more. "So you see, ladies and gentlemen, this isn't a love story." Julia's voice rose. "It's a con." Hajin couldn't move. Couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. The spotlight burned down on her. 100 pairs of eyes. All seeing her truth. A desperate mother. A grieving man. A girl trained to be someone else. Julia's heels clicked as she walked closer. "Tell them, Hajin. Tell them about the contract." Hajin looked up. Tears streaming down her face. "Tell them about the money." The words came out as a whisper. $300,000. The crowd erupted. Voices overlapping. Fuck. Disgust. Fascination. "There you have it," Julia announced. "The truth about Mr. and Mrs. Blue." She turned to leave the stage. "Oh, and Hajin?" She looked back with mock sympathy. "Your 3 months are up." The spotlight cut out. The crowd dispersed. Whispers following them into the night. Hajin remained on her knees. Alone. Destroyed. The penthouse was dark when she finally made it home. Her hands shook as she tried to unlock the door. The key wouldn't turn. She tried again. Again. Finally, it clicked. The apartment was silent. No sign of Jaden. She walked to the bedroom. Her suitcase was on the bed. Packed. A note lay on top. "The car will take you wherever you want to go. The contract is void. You're free. Jay. Free." She laughed. A broken sound in the empty room. Free to go where? Free to be who? Everything she thought she knew about herself was a lie. Her mother's creation. A living ghost of a dead woman. She sat on the edge of the bed. Stared at her reflection in the dark window. Sarah's face stared back. But Sarah was dead. And Hajin. Hajin didn't know who she was anymore. The phone rang. She ignored it. It rang again. Finally, she answered. Hajin. Her mother's voice. Weak. Desperate. I saw the news. Are you okay? Am I okay? Hajin's voice was hollow. You tell me, Mom. You're the one who created me. Silence. I don't know what you mean. Stop lying. The words came out sharp, final. I know about Sarah. About your job with Jaden's father. About everything. Angela's breath caught. Hajin, listen to me. No. You listen. Hajin stood. Walked to the window. I'm done being your puppet. You don't understand. I did this for you. For us. You did this for money. The money was for your future. My future? Or yours? Hajin's reflection stared back from the glass. A stranger's face. A dead woman's features. I'm not Sarah, Mom. Her voice broke. I'm not her. And I never will be. She hung up. Turned off the phone. The silence was complete. For the first time in her life, Hajin was truly alone. No mother pulling strings. No husband needing her to be someone else. No contract defining her worth. Just her. Whoever that was. She picked up her suitcase. Walked to the door. But before she left, she did something she'd never done before. She looked in the mirror. Really looked. Past Sarah's features. Past her mother's expectations. Past Jaden's needs. And for just a moment, she saw something else. Someone else. Someone who deserved better than this. The elevator doors closed. The penthouse disappeared. Her old life ended. But as the floors counted down, Hajin felt something unexpected. Not freedom. Not relief. Hope. Maybe she didn't know who she was yet. But for the first time, she had the chance to find out. The rain hammered against the hospital windows. Jaden sat in the ICU waiting room. Alone. Angela Harris had suffered another heart attack. This one worse than the first. The doctors said she was asking for him. Not Hajin. Room 314 smelled like death and disinfectant. Angela lay connected to machines. Her eyes sharp despite the tubes. You came. Her voice was barely a whisper. She asked me to. Hajin. He nodded. Angela smiled. Even dying, she looked satisfied. She doesn't know, does she? Know what? About Sarah's last words. Jaden's jaw tightened. That's between Sarah and me. Is it? Angela's hand moved toward the bedside table. A manila envelope. Sarah wrote you a letter. Before the accident. His blood went cold. I was cleaning out her apartment. Found it unsent. She pushed the envelope toward him. Read it. Ward. What? Sarah was pregnant when she died. Your baby. The machines beeped steadily. Angela watched his face crumble. She was coming to tell you. That night. Jaden's hands shook as he picked up the envelope. His name written in Sarah's handwriting. Why are you telling me this? Because Hajin deserves better than being a ghost. Angela's eyes closed. And so do you. The letter was 3 pages long. Written in Sarah's careful script. My dearest Jaden, by the time you read this, I'll have told you about the baby. I know you're scared. I know you think you're not ready. But I also know you'll be an amazing father. Because you have the biggest heart of anyone I've ever met. I love you. Not for your money. Not for your future. But for the man you are when no one else is watching. The man who cries at movies. Who feeds stray cats. Who dreams of building schools in places that need hope. That's the man I fell in love with. That's the man our baby will need. Forever yours, Sarah. Jaden read it 3 times. Each word a knife in his chest. She had loved him. Really loved him. Not the billionaire. Not the CEO. Just him. And he had spent 10 years believing otherwise. 10 years punishing himself. 10 years afraid to love again. The letter fell from his hands, scattered on the hospital floor. For the first time since Sarah's death, Jaden Blue cried. The photograph was hidden in Sarah's jewelry box. Angela had kept it all these years. Sarah at 19, laughing at something off camera. Her hair caught in sunlight. Her eyes bright with life. Next to it, a photo from Hajin's college ID. The resemblance was undeniable. But now Jaden could see the differences. Sarah's smile was carefree. Hajin's was guarded. Sarah's eyes held innocence. Hajin's held pain. They looked alike. But they weren't the same person. And he had been too blind to see it. Too lost in his own grief to notice that Hajin was her own person. With her own dreams. Her own fears. Her own heart. A heart he had broken by treating her like a replacement. The hospital chaplain found him in the chapel, staring at the stained glass windows. "Are you all right, son?" Jaden didn't look up. "I destroyed someone's life. We all make mistakes. This wasn't a mistake. This was deliberate." The chaplain sat beside him. "What did you do?" "I married a girl who looked like my dead girlfriend." The words sounded even worse spoken aloud. "And now she's gone. And I don't blame her. Do you love her?" The question caught him off guard. "I don't know." "Then maybe it's time to find out." Jaden stood, walked toward the door. "Where are you going?" "To tell the truth." The press conference was scheduled for 3 p.m. Blue Group's main conference room. Every major news outlet in the city. Jaden sat at the head table. Microphones pointed at him like weapons. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming." His voice was steady. His hands were not. "I called this conference to address recent allegations about my marriage." Camera flashes erupted. Reporters leaned forward. "The allegations are true." Gasps rippled through the room. "I entered into a contract marriage with Hajin Harris." Hands shot up. Questions shouted. Chaos. Jaden raised his hand for silence. "But what the reports don't mention is why." He looked directly into the cameras. 10 years ago, I lost someone I loved. Sarah Mitchell died in a car accident." His voice cracked slightly. "I never recovered from that loss. When I met Hajin, I saw Sarah's face. And I made a terrible decision." The room was silent now, hanging on every word. "I used Hajin's resemblance to Sarah to fill a void in my life." He paused, gathered himself. "But Hajin Harris is not Sarah Mitchell. She's braver than Sarah ever was. She's stronger than I ever gave her credit for. And she deserved better than being someone's ghost." Jaden stood. "Which is why I'm here to say this." He looked directly into the main camera. "Hajin, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. Not for the contract. Not for the money. But for not seeing you. For not seeing that you were never Sarah's replacement. You were always yourself. And yourself was more than enough." The room erupted again. Questions flying. Cameras flashing. But Jaden was already walking away. He had said what he needed to say. Now he had to hope it was enough. Angela's apartment was small and cluttered. Boxes everywhere. A lifetime of secrets packed away. Hajin had come to collect her mother's things. The hospital said Angela was stable. But the doctors were lying. Everyone knew it. In the bedroom closet, behind winter coats, Hajin found them. Dozens of photographs. All of Sarah. Sarah at college. Sarah with Jaden. Sarah at parties. Sarah everywhere. And beneath them, something else. A folder marked Project H. Inside, medical records. Plastic surgery consultations. Before and after photos. Her mother's face, transformed over years, made to look more like Sarah. At the bottom of the folder, a letter. Angela's handwriting. My dearest Hajin, if you're reading this, my plan worked. You married Jaden Blue. You secured our future. I know you think I'm cruel, but everything I did was for you. The surgery, the training, the lies. All of it was to give you the life I never had. Sarah Mitchell was nothing special, just a girl who got lucky. But you, my darling, you were made for this. You were crafted to be perfect. Don't waste that gift. Love, Mom. Hajin's hands shook as she read. Her mother hadn't just trained her to look like Sarah. She had surgically altered herself to look like Sarah's mother. The whole thing was planned. Years in the making. A long con targeting a grieving man. Hajin ran to the bathroom. Vomited until there was nothing left. When she looked up, Sarah's face stared back from the mirror. But now she could see the scars. Tiny lines hidden by makeup. Evidence of her mother's obsession. She wasn't Sarah's doppelganger. She was Sarah's artificially created twin. A manufactured person. Built to fulfill someone else's fantasy. The realization should have destroyed her. Instead, it set her free. Because if she was manufactured, she could be remade into whoever she wanted to be. Starting now. The phone rang as she was leaving the apartment. Jaden's number. She almost didn't answer. Hajin. His voice was different. Softer. More human. I saw the press conference. I meant every word. I know. Silence stretched between them. Where are you? It doesn't matter. It matters to me. She closed her eyes. Why? Because I want to see you. The real you. You don't know who that is. Neither do you. But maybe we can figure it out together. The offer hung in the air. Tempting. Dangerous. The contract is over, Jaden. I'm not talking about a contract. Her heart skipped. What are you talking about? I'm talking about starting over. As who? As ourselves. Whoever that turns out to be. Hajin looked at her reflection in the apartment window. Sarah's face. Her mother's creation. A stranger's identity. But underneath it all, something else was stirring. Something that belonged only to her. I need. No. She knew about the pregnancy. The words hit like a physical blow. Jaden stumbled back. Time. Take all the time you need. And Jaden. Yes. When I'm ready, I want to meet the man Sarah wrote about in her letter. His breath caught. How did you? Angela told me. Before she died. The line went quiet. She died. An hour ago. Peacefully. Jaden said nothing. But she could hear him crying. I'm sorry for your loss. She wasn't my mother. She was the only one you had. The truth of it hit them both. Angela Harris was gone. The architect of their deception. The puppet master who had pulled their strings. Now they were free. Free to choose. Free to love. Free to be real. If they were brave enough to try. The Blue Group board meeting was scheduled for 9 a.m. Emergency session. All members required to attend. Julia sat at the head of the table. Perfectly dressed. Completely confident. She had the votes. She had the leverage. She had won. Gentlemen, thank you for coming on such short notice. 12 board members. All men. All bought and paid for. As you know, recent events have cast doubt on our CEO's judgment. Murmurs of agreement. A contract marriage. Public humiliation. Stock prices falling. She stood. Walked to the presentation screen. Which is why I'm calling for a vote of no confidence. The room was silent. Calculating. I propose that Jaden Blue be removed as CEO, effective immediately. And who would replace him? The question came from the back of the room. An older man. Board member for 20 years. Julia smiled. Someone with experience. Someone with vision. She clicked to the next slide. Her resume. Her qualifications. Her plan for the company's future. Someone who understands what Blue Group really needs. The presentation was flawless. The arguments compelling. The outcome inevitable. Until the door opened. Jaden walked in, followed by 3 men in suits. FBI agents. "Sorry I'm late." He took his seat at the head of the table. The agents positioned themselves by the exits. "What is this?" Julia demanded. "This is justice." Jaden nodded to the lead agent. "Julia Blue, you're under arrest for embezzlement, fraud, and insider trading." The room erupted. Board members shouting. Julia backing away from the agents. "This is ridiculous. I demand to see evidence." "We have evidence." The agent held up a flash drive. Financial records. Email communications. Bank transfers. All provided by your former assistant. Julia's face went white. Maria Gonzalez has been cooperating with our investigation for 6 months. The handcuffs clicked around Julia's wrists. "You used insider information to manipulate stock prices. You embezzled funds through shell companies. You attempted to orchestrate a hostile takeover using stolen assets." Julia looked around the room. At the board members she had courted. At the company she had tried to steal. At the husband she had tried to destroy. "This isn't over." "Yes, it is." Jaden's voice was calm. "Final. Security will escort you out." The FBI agents led her away. Her heels clicking on marble. Her empire crumbling. The boardroom was silent. 12 men staring at their CEO, seeing him clearly for the first time. "Gentlemen," Jaden said quietly, "let's get back to work." The shareholders' meeting was packed. Standing room only. Every financial reporter in the city. Hajin sat in the back row. Baseball cap pulled low. Sunglasses hiding her face. She hadn't planned to come. But something had drawn her here. Curiosity. Concern. Something else she couldn't name. Jaden took the podium. The room fell silent. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming." His voice carried across the auditorium. Strong. Confident. Different from the man she had married. "The past few months have been challenging for Blue Group. Understatement of the year. We've faced scandal. We've faced doubt. We've faced questions about our leadership." He paused. Looked out at the crowd. "Today, I want to address those questions." The presentation began. Financial reports. Growth projections. Strategic initiatives. But Hajin wasn't listening to the numbers. She was watching the man. This wasn't the cold CEO from their contract. This wasn't the broken widower from the hospital. This was someone new. Someone whole. "But numbers only tell part of the story," Jaden continued. He clicked to a new slide. A photograph of a school. Children playing in a courtyard. "This is the Sarah Mitchell Foundation." Hajin's breath caught. "Named for someone I lost. Someone who believed in giving back." Another slide. A hospital in Guatemala. "This is our first project. A children's medical center." Another slide. A scholarship program. "This is our second. Education for underprivileged youth." The room was completely silent now. Captivated. These projects represent more than charity. Jaden's voice grew stronger. They represent what Blue Group really stands for. Not just profit. Not just growth. But purpose. He clicked to the final slide. A quote in simple text. "The best way to honor the past is to build a better future." Hajin felt tears on her cheeks. He was talking about Sarah. But he was also talking about them. Questions. A hand shot up. Financial Times reporter. Mr. Blue, what about your marriage? The contract allegations. Jayden was quiet for a moment. My personal life has been complicated. I made mistakes. I hurt someone who didn't deserve it. But I learned something important. He looked directly at the camera. Love isn't about replacing what you've lost. It's about appreciating what you have. And sometimes, what you have is better than what you lost, even if it takes you too long to realize it. The reporter pressed on. Are you still married? Legally, yes. In reality? Jayden paused. That's up to her. The meeting ended. Shareholders filed out. Reporters rushed to their deadlines. Hajin remained in her seat, watching Jayden pack up his presentation. He looked tired, but peaceful, like he had finally said something he needed to say. She stood, walked toward the stage. He saw her coming. His face lit up, then grew cautious. You came. I saw the news about Julia. She got what she deserved. And the foundation? Something I should have done years ago. They stood facing each other, the auditorium empty around them. You look different, she said. So do you. It was true. She had cut her hair, changed her style, stopped trying to look like Sarah. I've been thinking about what you said. Which part? About starting over. His heart stopped. And I want to know who Hajin Harris really is. Not Hajin Blue. Not unless she chooses to be. He stepped closer. And if she does choose, then she wants to marry someone who loves her. Not Sarah's ghost. Not Angela's creation. Her. Jayden reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. I love you, Hajin Harris. Whoever you are. Whoever you become. Just you. She looked into his eyes. Saw truth there. Saw possibility. I love you too, Jayden Blue. The man who builds schools. The man who cries at movies. The man Sarah saw. The man I'm finally meeting. He kissed her then. Not as husband and wife. Not as contract partners. But as two people choosing each other. For the first time. For real. The memes started at midnight. Hajin's face plastered across social media. Twisted into cruel jokes. Vicious commentary. Gold digger of the year. How to marry a billionaire in 3 easy steps. The ultimate catfish. Her phone buzzed constantly. Unknown numbers. Death threats. Marriage proposals from strangers. Reporters offering money for exclusive interviews. She turned it off. Unplugged the landline. Closed the curtains. The small apartment she had rented became her prison. 1 bedroom. No doorman. No security. Just her and the weight of a million strangers' hatred. The grocery store was a nightmare. Whispers followed her down every aisle. Phones appeared. Pictures snapped. Videos uploaded instantly. Is that her? The fake wife. She looks different without the makeup. A teenager approached. Phone recording. Hey, aren't you that girl who scammed Jayden Blue? Hajin abandoned her cart. Ran for the exit. The video went viral within hours. Jayden Blue's ex-wife runs from confrontation. Comments poured in. Each one crueler than the last. She stopped leaving the apartment. Ordered groceries online. Lived on instant noodles and shame. The world had decided who she was. And who she was a villain. But in the darkness of her apartment, something else was growing. Not shame. Not fear. Anger. Anger at her mother for creating this mess. Anger at Julia for orchestrating her destruction. Anger at herself for running. But mostly, anger at the world for judging her without knowing her story. The real story. She sat at her laptop, opened a new document, and began to write. The blog post went live at 3 a.m. My Truth, by Hajin Harris. She told everything. The contract, the manipulation, her mother's lies, Julia's schemes, Jaden's grief. But she also told the parts no one knew. Her own journey, her own pain, her own discovery of who she really was. By morning, it had been shared 10,000 times. By noon, 50,000. By evening, it was trending worldwide. The narrative was shifting. From villain to victim to survivor. Comments flooded in. But these were different. Thank you for your courage. Your story gives me hope. You're stronger than they said. For the first time in weeks, Hajin smiled. She was taking back her story. One word at a time. The rain started as Hajin left her apartment. Heavy drops that soaked through her jacket turned the city streets into rivers. She walked without direction. No destination in mind. Just movement. Just escape from the four walls that had become her world. Central Park was empty. The storm had driven everyone inside. Only Hajin remained, walking the flooded paths. She found herself at the bench. The same one where she had sat months ago. After leaving Jaden's penthouse. After learning the truth about her mother. Full circle. The bench was soaked. She sat anyway. Let the rain wash over her. This was rock bottom. No husband. No mother. No identity. Just a girl in the rain. Finally alone with herself. The footsteps came from behind. Slow. Deliberate. Familiar. She didn't turn around. How did you find me? Jaden sat beside her. Just as wet. Just as lost. You always come here when you're thinking. How do you know that? I've been watching. She turned to look at him. Watching. Not stalking. Just making sure you're safe. The reporters. The threats. I hired security. You've been protecting me? Someone had to. They sat in silence. Rain falling between them. Why? Because I love you. The words were simple. True. Devastating. Even after everything. Especially after everything. He turned to face her. You want to know who Hajin Harris really is? She nodded. She's the woman who walked away from a fortune because it felt wrong. She's the woman who refused to let her mother turn her into a weapon. She's the woman who chose truth over comfort. She's the bravest person I've ever met. Hajin felt tears mixing with rain on her cheeks. I don't feel brave. Brave people never do. A crack of thunder. Lightning illuminated the park. I'm selling the company. What? Blue Group. I'm selling it. Why? Because it was never really mine. He leaned back. My father built it on lies. Corruption. Bribes. Julia was just following his example. And I was too blind to see it. Hajin stared at him. So you're just giving up? I'm starting over. With what? The foundation. Clean money. Clean conscience. He looked at her directly. Clean slate. She felt something shift inside her chest. That's not why I'm doing this. I know. This isn't about money. I know. This is about us. I know. They sat in the rain. Two people who had lost everything. And found each other. What happens now? She asked. Now we figure out who we are. Together. If you want. She looked at him. This man who had just given up everything. Not for her. But for himself. For the chance to be better. I want to try. He smiled. The first real smile she had seen from him. Then let's try. He stood. Extended his hand. She took it. Angela's funeral was small. Just Hajin, Jaden, and a handful of hospital staff who had cared for her in her final days. The pastor spoke about redemption, about second chances, about the possibility of grace even in the darkest circumstances. Hajin wasn't sure she believed it, but she listened anyway. After the service, she stood alone by the grave. A simple headstone. Angela Harris. Mother. That was all. No dates. No sentiment. Just the basic fact of her existence. I forgive you, Hajin whispered to the stone. Not because Angela deserved it, but because Hajin needed to let go. Jaden appeared beside her. Ready. She nodded. They walked away together, leaving the past buried where it belonged. The press conference was Hajin's idea. She was tired of hiding, tired of letting other people tell her story. The room was packed. Every major network, every gossip blog, every person who had followed their saga from the beginning. Hajin sat at the table. No notes, no prepared remarks, just the truth. My name is Hajin Harris, she began. Her voice was steady, clear. 6 months ago, I signed a contract to marry Jaden Blue. Cameras flashed. Reporters leaned forward. I did it for money. $300,000. Gasps. Murmurs. I needed the money for my mother's medical bills. For my college tuition. For survival. She paused. But what I found was something I didn't expect. I found myself. Not the person my mother wanted me to be. Not the person the contract required. But the person I chose to become. She looked directly into the cameras. I'm not Sarah Mitchell. I never was. I'm not a gold digger. I'm not a con artist. I'm a woman who made a difficult choice in an impossible situation. And I'm not ashamed of that anymore. The room was silent. Jaden and I are getting remarried next month. Explosion of noise. Questions shouted. Cameras clicking. Not because of a contract. Not because of money. But because we choose each other. Every day. As we are. Flawed. Complicated. Real. She stood. That's all I have to say. And she walked away. Head high. Heart full. The wedding was everything the first one wasn't. Small. Intimate. Real. No contracts. No lawyers. No hidden agendas. Just two people. Choosing each other. Freely. Hajin wore her grandmother's dress. Simple white cotton. Yellowed with age. Perfect. Jaden wore his father's suit. Tailored to fit. A connection to family. To legacy. To love that endures. The vows were their own. I promise to see you, Jaden said. Not as Sarah's replacement. Not as anyone's creation. But as yourself. Beautiful. Complicated. Real. Hajin's turn. I promise to choose you. Not for your money. Not for your status. But for your heart. The one that builds schools. The one that protects strangers. The one that chose love over everything else. The kiss was soft, sweet, final. They were husband and wife. For real this time. Forever this time. The reception was in Central Park. At the bench where they had found each other. Again. 20 guests. Simple food. Honest laughter. No press. No cameras. No performance. Just joy. Pure and uncomplicated. As the sun set, Hajin found herself alone with her thoughts. Her new husband was talking to friends. Her new life stretched out before her. Uncertain but hopeful. She pulled out her phone. Scrolled through the messages. Congratulations. Well wishes. Love from people who mattered. At the bottom, one message stood out. From a number she didn't recognize. You did it. You became yourself. Sarah would be proud. A friend. Hajin stared at the message. No signature. No explanation. But somehow she knew. Sarah was watching. Approving. Blessing this new beginning. She deleted the message. Put the phone away. The past was past. The future was unwritten. The present was perfect. Jaden appeared beside her. Ready to go home? Where's home? Wherever we are. Together. She took his hand. Then I'm ready. They walked into the sunset. Two people who had found themselves. By losing everything else. By choosing love. By being brave enough to be real. The fairy tale was over. The real story was just beginning. And it was beautiful. 6 months after the wedding, Hajin discovered something unexpected about herself. Not in a hospital room or a boardroom, but in a small photography studio in Brooklyn. She had been walking aimlessly, as she often did when she needed to think. The camera shop window caught her eye. Vintage Leicas. Film canisters. Black and white prints hanging like memories. The owner, an elderly man with paint-stained fingers, noticed her staring. "You have the eye," he said simply. "The eye. For seeing what others miss." He handed her a camera. Heavy. Solid. Real. "Try it." She lifted it to her face. The world became smaller. Focused. Manageable. Click. The sound was different from phone cameras. Deliberate. Permanent. "What did you see?" the old man asked. Hajin lowered the camera. Across the street, a mother was teaching her daughter to tie shoes. The child's face was scrunched in concentration. The mother's expression was pure love. "Life," she said quietly. "Exactly." That afternoon, she bought her first real camera. Not with Jaden's money. With her own savings from the blog posts that had started paying her for her story. When she got home, Jaden was in his study, surrounded by foundation paperwork, building his new empire of hope. "What's that?" he asked, noticing the camera bag. "My future," she said. And for the first time, she meant it. The magazine article appeared 3 weeks later. The Real Mrs. Blue, Gold Digger or Love Story. Hajin found it on the kitchen counter. Jaden had left it there without comment. The photos were invasive. Telephoto shots of them grocery shopping, walking in the park, living their quiet life. But the words were worse. Sources close to the couple say the marriage is already showing strain. Friends report that Hajin Harris Blue is already eyeing her husband's fortune. How long before this fairy tale ends in another expensive divorce? Hajin's hands shook as she read. 6 months of peace. 6 months of building something real. And they were trying to tear it down again. Her phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Saw the article. Want to tell your side? $50,000 for exclusive interview. Then another. Photo of you crying would be worth $100,000. And another. Is it true you're already cheating? She turned off the phone. But the damage was done. When Jaden came home that evening, she was sitting in the dark. "You saw it," he said. "Everyone saw it." He sat beside her on the couch, the magazine between them like a weapon. "Do you want to respond?" "What's the point? They'll just twist whatever I say. So we ignore it? Can we?" They sat in silence. Outside, New York continued its relentless pace. Inside, they felt the weight of a world that wouldn't let them be happy. "There's something else," Jaden said quietly. Hajin's stomach dropped. "What?" "I got a call today. From a lawyer." "Julia." "No." Someone claiming to represent Sarah's estate. The name hit like ice water. "What do they want?" "They're saying I used Sarah's image without permission. For the foundation." "Can they do that?" "They can try." Hajin felt the walls closing in again. Just when they thought they were free, the past reached out to drag them back. Who is it? Who's behind this? I don't know yet. But I'm going to find out. The morning sickness started 2 weeks later. Hajin blamed it on stress. The ongoing legal battles. The constant media attention. The pressure of trying to be normal in an abnormal situation. It wasn't until she fainted in the photography studio that she considered another possibility. The pregnancy test sat on the bathroom counter like a small pink bomb. Positive. She stared at it for 10 minutes, waiting for the lines to change, for reality to shift back to something manageable. But the lines remained clear, undeniable. She was pregnant. With Jaden's child. The man who had lost a baby with Sarah. Who had spent 10 years grieving not just a woman, but the family they never had. How would he react? Joy, terror, the crushing weight of history repeating itself? She hid the test in her camera bag, told herself she needed time to think. But really, she was afraid. Afraid of his reaction. Afraid of her own. Afraid of bringing a child into their complicated world. The truth came out 3 days later. Not through careful planning or romantic revelation, but through morning sickness in the Blue Group executive bathroom. Jaden found her there, pale, shaking, trying to clean vomit from her dress. Hajin, what's wrong? She looked up at him. This man who had lost everything. Who had found her. Who was about to lose everything again. I'm pregnant. The words hung in the air between them. Jaden's face went through a series of emotions. Shock, fear, something that might have been joy. Then, unexpectedly, tears. Are you sure? She nodded. He knelt beside her on the bathroom floor. Took her hands in his. How do you feel about it? He. Terrified. Me too. They sat there in silence. On the cold tile floor of a corporate bathroom. Two people who had found love in the wreckage of their lives, now facing the possibility of creating new life together. Sarah was pregnant, he said quietly. I know. When she died. We never got to. I never got to be a father. Hajin felt her heart break for him. For the man he had been. For the father he had never become. This is different, she said. Is it? This is us. Not them. Not the past. Us. He looked at her. Really looked. Not at Sarah's ghost. Not at Angela's creation. But at her. Hajin. The woman carrying his child. I love you, he said. I love you too. Whatever happens, we'll face it together. Together. They helped each other stand. Walked out of that bathroom and into their uncertain future. Hand in hand. The woman appeared at Hajin's photography exhibition. Small gallery in Soho. Hajin's first professional showing. The photos were all black and white. Street scenes. Moments of connection. Life as she saw it now. Real. Unfiltered. Beautiful. The woman studied each image carefully. She was older. Elegant. Familiar in a way Hajin couldn't place. These are remarkable, she said, approaching Hajin. Thank you. You have a gift for seeing truth. Something in her tone made Hajin uncomfortable. I'm sorry, do we know each other? The woman smiled. But it didn't reach her eyes. Not exactly. But I knew Sarah. Hajin's blood went cold. Sarah Mitchell. I was her roommate in college. The gallery continued around them. People admiring art. Sipping wine. Oblivious to the bomb that had just exploded. What do you want? To tell you something she would have wanted you to know. The woman pulled out an envelope. Old. Yellowed. Hajin's name written on the front. She wrote this the night she died. For you. That's impossible. She didn't know me. Didn't she? The woman pressed the envelope into Hajin's hands. Sarah knew about Angela's plan. About you. She was trying to stop it. Stop what? Your mother's obsession. The surgeries. The manipulation. All of it. Hajin's hands shook. Sarah was driving to confront Angela that night. To tell her to leave you alone. You're lying. The accident happened on the way to your mother's apartment. The gallery spun around Hajin. Voices became distant. The envelope felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. She died trying to protect you. The woman turned to leave. Wait, Hajin called. But she was already gone. Disappeared into the crowd like a ghost. Hajin stood alone. Surrounded by her art, her truth, her new life, and a letter from a dead woman who had tried to save her. She didn't open it that night, or the next. The envelope sat on her dresser like a time bomb, waiting. Finally, on a quiet Sunday morning, with Jaden beside her and their unborn child growing inside her, she found the courage. My dear Hajin, the letter began. If you're reading this, then I failed. I tried to stop your mother. Tried to make her see that what she was doing to you was wrong. You deserve to live your own life. To be your own person. To love and be loved for who you are, not who someone else wants you to be. Jaden is a good man. But he's broken. Don't let his brokenness break you too. Be strong. Be yourself. Be free. The world needs more people like you. People who choose love over fear. Hope over despair. Truth over lies. I'm sorry I couldn't do more. But I believe in you. I believe you'll find your way. Love, Sarah. Hajin read it 3 times. Each word a gift. A blessing. A benediction from beyond. Sarah hadn't been her rival. She had been her guardian angel. What does it say? Jaden asked softly. Hajin handed him the letter. Watched his face as he read. Saw the tears. The understanding. The final letting go. She knew, he whispered. She knew everything. And she tried to save you. She did save me. Just not the way she planned. Jaden pulled Hajin close. His hand resting on her still flat stomach. Our child will know about her, he said. About the woman who died trying to protect their mother. About the love that brought us together. About the truth that set us free. They sat in their quiet apartment. 3 generations connected by love. Sarah's sacrifice. Their choice. Their child's future. The past was finally at peace. The present was full of possibility. The future was theirs to write. Together. The birth was difficult. 36 hours of labor. Complications that sent doctors running. Machines beeping. Jaden pacing the hallway like a caged animal. But when their daughter finally arrived, screaming and perfect and absolutely herself, everything else faded away. She looks like you, Jaden whispered, holding her for the first time. She looks like herself, Hajin corrected. And she did. Not Sarah. Not Angela. Not anyone but the tiny person she was meant to be. They named her Hope. For the future they were building. For the love they had chosen. For the life they had created together. As Hajin held her daughter, she thought about the journey that had brought them here. The contract that had started as a lie and become the truth. The love that had grown from necessity into choice. She thought about Sarah, who had died trying to protect her. About Angela, who had loved her in the only way she knew how. About Julia, who had tried to destroy them and only made them stronger. And she thought about Jaden, the broken man who had learned to love again. Who had chosen her not as a replacement, but as herself. What are you thinking about? He asked. Everything. Nothing. This moment. Any regrets? She looked at him. At their daughter. At the life they had built from the ashes of their old selves. None. Not even the beginning. The contract. Especially not the beginning. She smiled. Without that contract, we never would have found each other. Without that lie, we never would have learned the truth. About ourselves. About love. About what really matters. Jaden kissed her forehead. Then their daughters. I love you, Mrs. Blue. I love you too, Mr. Blue. Both of you. Outside, New York continued its endless dance. But inside their hospital room, time stood still. A family. Chosen. Real. Complete. The fairy tale was over. The real story had begun. And it was more beautiful than any fiction they could have imagined.